Hello, my ODS prepping friends. Welcome to the end of week 5. You can probably tell that it's the end of week 5 because I'm no longer wearing. I guess all you ever saw me wear is my PT gear. Just so you know, I have other gear. See, these are the NWUs, the Type 3s. I do have other gear. I just never wanted to wear them at night. But I'm done and out of there now. Yay! And I moved on to my next stage of training, which is called Seacoast for me. Which is actually kind of interesting. Today we are actually using the M4 and learning how to use that and wearing all this Kevlar and body armor. But that's not ODS, so let's talk about ODS. Wow, week 5. Oh my gosh. So my experience is probably going to be a little different than yours, but let me just tell you how it's supposed to go, and then I'll tell you about the flaming show that was my class. Okay, so week 5 is your final week at ODS. So if you make it to that stage, you are in the, what do they say, in the straightaway. You're at the finish line. So if I repeat anything from week 4, apologies. You do need to get your mess bill paid, so you'll have to go to Nay Hall. They only take card. When I was there, it was about $500. It was just under. So you have to make sure that that is paid, I think, before week 5 even starts. And then you also need to get your uniform bill paid off that week. If you needed a little help buying some supplies, they did make some gift cards available for you up to around $2,000. And you should have received 1 to 2 paychecks by this time. So they do want your uniform bill. Those cards you do have to pay off if you used them. So you'll need to get those paid off by week 5 as well. Starting out from Monday, we did our first grad practice. So we wore khakis, but we did wear our covers, our white covers. So that was exciting. We went to K Hall, which is sort of the big uniform sort of like auditorium area building that they have. So that was really neat. They had us all you go out by company, so they had you go to the back of K Hall into this sort of like weight room behind this big curtain. You all line up in a height line. They just kind of plug a phone for practice. They just plug a phone up into the speaker system and play this marching drum music. You march out. You have chairs set up. You have everybody sit in the chairs. They tell you exactly when you need to stand, when you need to sit, and just sort of the order of what's going to happen with graduation. Who's going to stand where? There's people that are standing up front. What are they called? Side boys, I believe. And then there's also somebody that's playing the, forgetting the names already, but there's like the pipe that they play. And then there's also a bell ringer and a bell silencer. And about holding your salute while the national anthem is played, and you'll have some guest speakers, etc. But you'll go through all that graduation practice. So you'll do that. That was early in the morning. That was like 5 or 6 o'clock, so during PT time, basically. So we did that on the first day, and then we had out briefs scheduled. So you will have, we were supposed to have, I think, 4 out briefs. So the assistant director, and then also you may have the director. We were supposed to have the XO and the XO and the command master chief do out briefs, and then we also had one with the CO. And essentially, they're just wanting your feedback on what were your thoughts for ODS, what went well and what could be improved. So they're not looking for you just to show up and complain. They do want suggestions, and they do take these things as well. Well, my backpack's down there, but that was one of the solutions, or one of the things that they implemented. People got tired of carrying books and whatever from A to B all the time. So eventually they said, okay, everybody can use the black backpack. So they do listen. Some of the things they sort of dismissed pretty quickly, but it is a chance for the whole class to get feedback. My class on this one, though, that happened on Monday, right? Yeah, that was Monday. So my class, they were mad at us again from the weekend because, what was it? The week prior, they said we were messing around in the tech trainers. On that Monday, I guess they said we left the fourth hall or the fourth deck a mess. They said that there was, like, the trash cans were all full. I guess people had ordered out on Sunday, and they had just left the trash in the trash cans and hadn't taken it out. So they said there was a bunch of Chinese food. And then the refrigerator, there's one fridge up there, they said was just all packed full of food. And they just thought we were sloppy and left the fourth deck a mess. So they went up on the deck, they threw the trash everywhere, made a big mess, and told us to go up there and clean it up. Well, we got up there, and then suddenly a whole bunch of chiefs appeared, which, if a whole bunch of chiefs appear, you know that something bad's about to happen, because they need people if they're going to take you outside and PT you. They can't just do it with one or two people. They need like 7, 8 people to do that. So they showed up, they kind of yelled at us a bit, they told us to all get in PT gear, and they took us to the sand pit. This time for punishment. So they put us on a bench, they gave us a lecture about us being sloppy and lazy, and said, if anybody wants to go, just go now, and which of course nobody did. So then they took us over to the sand pit and had us do all these exercises in it, while they yelled at us, and yeah, just can't say it was a ton of fun. We had, I think, 2 training timeouts that happened during it for people that got a little bit, overwhelmed by what was going on. So everybody was okay, but still, we had a couple training timeouts. Yeah, they were clearly upset, talking about how they had failed us, and one of our class officers even told us that we all sucked in our souls. It was a little harsh, but yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, they were very angry with us about that. And then after that, then we had to do our exam. So the exam is supposed to be computerized. We went up, we cleaned up, we got back into our khakis, and then we all went to our assigned locations, and various computer labs, and you're supposed to take the exam. I think it was a 50-question exam on the computer, and you're supposed to get 70% to pass. So we did that. My card didn't work. For some reason, I couldn't log in. So if you have an issue and you can't take it on the computer, then they have alternate locations you go to, and you do a handwritten exam. So they just pass out the exam booklet, and then you just have to use a bubble sheet and bubble it all in. So that's what I had to do, but then everybody else took it on the computer. You get your results immediately. You find out how you did, if you passed or didn't. And if you do the computer one, that's when you do the end of course critique. So essentially that is it's like if you've taken a class in college and you do your, end of class survey or feedback for the professor. It's like that in that case. So you'll do your end of class critique, talking about, what was good and bad. I actually did not get to fill it out because since I did a handwritten one, they never gave it to me. So I still have to email them my thoughts on that. They did give me an email to send it to. But yes, it is the exam. If you do not pass the exam, you do get to retake it. So the questions were not super hard. If you showed up to the lectures, if you paid attention, most of the questions were pretty high level. They weren't really digging down into the weeds and, saying something like, how many sailors were originally on the USS Constitution when it was first launched? Like, nothing like that. It was just pretty general things. So if you paid attention, didn't fall asleep, then you should be pretty good, and spend a little bit of time studying. And if you don't pass, then you should be able to retake it as well. I don't know what's involved in the retake because I didn't do it, but there is a retake. Similarly, if you did not pass the khaki inspection, or there's a final room inspection they did as well, you also will retake that during week 5. They'll tell you when and where to show up. It'll probably be on Monday or Tuesday for the khaki inspection at least. And they'll redo that. They'll look at your uniform again. They'll ask you knowledge questions again. So yeah, and then similar for the room inspection, at some point they'll go up and they'll inspect your room again to make sure that you pass. So that was that was Monday. Exam and sandpit. Tuesday we did more grad practice. We wanted to make sure we had it down well and had it down pat. So we did it again on Tuesday, and things went pretty smoothly. So we were looking pretty good. Let's see. We did a USS Fitzgerald case study where they just talk about an incident that happened with the Fitzgerald and what went wrong. What was the aftermath? What are things that could have been done to prevent it, etc. So it was just a real world case study. And then we did our presentations. So around week, was it 2 or 3? Each team, we were broken into teams of about 10-ish people each. And we were each given a scenario. So my group scenario was something like we had a petty officer who wasn't following maintenance procedures like he was supposed to, but his seniors, his first-class petty officer and even his chief, also had issues where they knew he wasn't doing it, but they weren't holding him to the standard, or the chief wasn't getting things repaired like he should. So then it's up to your team to say, well, what are you going to do as the divo, as the division officer? So, and you can't just come up with it off the top of your head. You have to actually go into a lot of the documents and the references that they've talked about and do research and say, look, these are the courses of action. This is what we could do. Like, this is the most lenient thing we could do. This is like a middle ground, and this is the super harsh thing that we could do. So you can say, this is the course that we'll choose. This is why we know we're allowed to do this. Here's the documents. Here's the references to back up what we're doing. And then you take questions. After you do all that, you say, okay, here is the scenario. This is what we're going to do. Here's all our references. Then you'll take questions from the class, and then the class team will do their best to tear apart and destroy what you just did. Which, expect that, right? They have been in the Navy for 5, 10, 20 years. They know these things a lot better than you do. So they're going to really dig down into it and ask you questions and give you feedback. So you will have those case studies that you will also break out and you will do around that day, or that's when we did it. Wednesday, we did another mock PRT. Again, the PRT does not count, but you did one during week, I think it was 2, and now you're doing one during week 5. And ideally, you have improved over this time. So I know I improved. My run stayed about the same, but my plank increased by 30 or 40 seconds, and my push-ups increased by 10 or 12. So the hope is that you have improved your fitness while you are there doing all the PT that they've done. So you do another mock PRT. We had one other lecture that was on leadership, and then we did some role plays. So you've done all this training, you've had all these lectures, they take time and they call people up on stage, and they set up these little scenarios. Like, we had 3 different scenarios. One was, it was a sailor didn't show up because they were basically drunk in their room. So they brought up a new nurse officer, and so they set up the situation, and then they say, okay, well, what are you going to do? So then he acts it out and he talks it out. I went up for the second one. I was the divo, and I had a sailor who was having financial troubles. So then I had to figure out what the command could do to assist him. What are the different resources that are available? And then also, what are sort of the big errors that he's making as well? A lot of sailors like to go out and buy a brand new vehicle with 15% interest and just something ridiculous they don't need. So that was mine. And then after that, it was a personnel issue with an unhappy spouse calling a dibbo and complaining that their husband works too much, and seeing how the dibbo would react with that. So that one was actually kind of fun. It's a little nervous if you're the person up on stage, but it's all fun. People, they expect you're nervous, you don't know what to do, and people laugh a lot. So the role plays were pretty fun. I think everybody enjoyed it. We finished up the mural that week. It was Wednesday or Thursday. Let me see if I have a quick photo of it. You can try to find it while you're there if you go to ODS. So if you can kind of see, here we go. This was my class's mural. It's in the stairwell. I think the lighting's maybe off a little bit, but we essentially had these little Greek characters, and off on the side we put all of our names. We have this little Pegasus. The lighting kind of sucks, but we put Pegasus, and we have all the names down around the Pegasus. They actually forgot my name. I had to go and act all sad and say, you didn't put me on there. So then they added me. So we got the murals. We got the class coins in. So everybody loved those. Get a class coin. Order at least one, maybe even 2 or 3. Same for a class shirt. Everybody wanted one, but at the end, even people that didn't order them. So make sure you get a class coin. Make sure you get a class shirt. You're going to enjoy them and you're going to want them. So ours were really neat. I was glad I got them. Oh, and you get to wear your class shirt too this week. So any of the PTs, etc., you get to take off the nasty navy shirt, like yellow thing, and actually start wearing your class shirt. So that's something that's nice and that's kind of fun. Let's see. Thursday, we did a final colors in the morning, put on our NWUs, our camo uniforms, went out, did a final colors, and then we did the graduation hike after that, which is, it's meant to be pretty fun. They split us up into, I think it was 4 groups, and the uniform was what they called boots and utes. So you wear your bottom half of your NWUs, so your boots and your utility trousers, and then your top you wear your class shirt. And then they had sort of all these different stations. So we went out, and first we went behind King Hall, and they had a challenge for us out there where we had to move a bunch of sandbags around while also simulating taking fire. Then we went to another area where there were all these mannequin casualties out, and they gave us tasks we had to do from how to move them, how to maintain security. And then it was a third one where we marched to a location, and supposedly there was a blockage. We had to use a radio. We had to march back to another location. Let me tell you, when you do this, and this is good for, I guess, when you have your boots on, period, but because we were marching a lot more while wearing our boots, my feet just got shredded. It's very common for the back of your feet just to get rubbed raw, and the skin just to start coming off and to get blisters. So look into that. I need to still look into that a bit more about like taping up the back of my feet or something, because those black boots. I actually don't. The CVs, we don't even wear those. We wear these coyote boots, which if you can wear these, much better. Okay, much better. The black ones, personally, I think they suck. But these don't tear up my feet. The black ones do. So yeah, that was fun. I was limping for a couple days after that. So we did that graduation hike, and then at the end, it was kind of fun because we all went to the middle of the Nimitz Field and did a final, sort of like run, crawl to the middle of the field and shouted out our class name. And so that was nice. That was fun. We all enjoyed that. Then we did medical out processing. So essentially they just give you, depending on where you're going, what your station is, if you're active duty, reservist, it'll depend what they give you for your med record. I just got my dental records. Some people got their full records. I think if they were going like overseas, Oconus, they got their full record to hand carry. Other people got nothing. So if you can get your medical record, get it and hold on to it, because the Navy likes to lose things. So we got our medical records. People also did a lot of packing on this day. So I started packing on Tuesday or Wednesday. But if you haven't started packing, then Thursday you should absolutely get packed up. Do any final laundry. Start cleaning your room. You want to try to get your room essentially as empty as possible, so that on Friday you can get changed and done as quickly as you can. So the rest of the day really was just packing. Yes. Okay. And then was there anything else? What was this? 5 to 10. Okay. Yeah. And then we did the social. So after that, we went off on Thursday, and it was around 3 o'clock, I believe. We all went over to the O Club. Your social may be different, but for ours, we went to the O Club. We ordered in, I think we had Chick-fil-A for it. So they brought in Chick-fil-A. There was a cash bar you could go to and pay for. And that's a couple hours where it's supposed to be kind of fun. The social officers put together a slideshow that we watched. Some speeches were given. There were gifts given to the class team. So the two chiefs and the two class officers, we brought them up and gave them gifts and applauded for them. Make sure at this social that you set up a POW table and look into the whole ritual, and make sure whatever you have to read or do, you do exactly, because I'll talk about that in a minute, but our senior chief got very upset with us because I guess we didn't follow it to the letter. But we did that social. We had the food. We did a little bit of speeches. And then you could go out with your family. So around 5 o'clock, they cut us loose, and they gave us liberty from 5 to 10 in the evening. So you'll be in your khakis. Similar to weekend 3, you just stay right around Newport on that island. And you go out. Your family can be there if they came into town, or you can just go out with other officers or on your own, whatever you want to do. But you'll get about 5 hours out. So I went out with, there was a couple people who came to see me, and we went out and we ate and just kind of like walked around town. So that was fun. That was nice. You'll get to spend some time with your family before graduation. But you do have to be back by, I think it's 10 that night. So what I recommend is, and what I did is I drove. My family couldn't get onto base on Thursday, but I could leave base. So I left base, did all that with them, and I came back, and since I drove, the car could get on. I was sort of the sponsor, and it was no problem that my family was with me. So I went back to King Hall with them, and I loaded up a couple luggage bags into the car so I didn't have to deal with them in the morning. So if you can, load up as much luggage as you can and get it to your family that night, because it'll make Friday easier for you. And then Friday is final clean, checkout, and graduation. So we were supposed to be up at 5 o'clock to do final cleaning and check out of the room. So essentially it's shower, pack away absolutely everything except what you just need for graduation. So essentially for us, it was our whites. If you come at another time during the year, it may be your dress blues. And then you'll have a class team member come into your room really quick, just check it to make sure that it's in acceptable condition. They'll sign it off, and then you go and you get your signed orders. So when you're done, when you go report somewhere and you're done, they're supposed to give you signed and stamped orders. So you don't get those, though, until you're actually checked out of your room, or at least have that final cleaning thing. So we cleaned up our rooms. We got our signed orders, which as a reservist, I need those to process my final payments and vouchers for airplane tickets, etc. So you will get those, and then it's prep for graduation. So this was more amazing drama for my class because I thought we were marching over. Okay, graduation starts at 10. I thought somewhere around 9-ish or so that we were all going to form up and march over. Well, you aren't allowed to leave any luggage in King Hall. You can't come back to King Hall after graduation. So we were told to take all of our luggage over to K Hall, where the graduation was, and they had a room upstairs to put it in. So we were making trips, we were putting things up there, and it was even sprinkling a little bit. So we had our ponchos, we were wearing those. There was some confusion, and we were told in the class chat by one of our class leaders for everybody just to straggle over to King Hall. So we weren't marching over. So that's exactly what we did, what we were told. So we get there, and around 9:30, we're all called inside, and our senior chief goes up on stage, and he was pissed at us. For one, he mentioned that POW table. He said that I guess we didn't follow the procedure correctly. We did have a prayer, and they mentioned it in the prayer, but I don't think that was enough for him. So he was mad about that. He had a very unfortunate, tragic story of a former officer who saluted him out by the flag by King Hall, who unfortunately has passed away, but there's still that flag there. And because we did not march past the flag going to K Hall, he viewed it as being, he basically said we were disrespectful to the flag. He said that we were disrespectful to the memory of his friend who had passed. He said that he was angry with us, that he had failed us, and that he was done with us. And he said, "Get out of my way!" And he stormed off the stage. And of course, we're all sort of dumbfounded because we did what we were told. We weren't trying to disrespect anybody. It was just shocking. And then one of the other class chiefs and class officer came back, and they tried to undo some of the damage and say, "Hey, it's graduation, guys. You know, this is your time. Enjoy it." But yeah, that left sort of a sour taste in our mouths. And then we did graduation. So then 10 o'clock came, and it was nice. So everybody, it went off fairly well without a hitch. We all marched out. We had the speeches. There were the class awards. So there's about 4 different awards. One of them it's like for the best PRT and inspection scores is one. There's one that the whole class votes on, a leadership award. I know there's one for academics. Essentially whoever scores the highest. Maybe it's just on the ODS exam. And there's one other that I'm forgetting. But so there's 4 class awards that are given out. And then they dismiss you. And you end by doing we did company photos. So we had Yankee in November. So we set up these little bleachers really quick. The family had to stay back. You take a big photo with your company, and then it swaps out. The other company comes up and does it. And that's it then. So then it's go upstairs, grab your stuff, and leave. You're done. So a lot of people kind of walked around training country a little bit with their families and took photos. Everybody was in there. For us, it was the whites, but you may be in your blues depending on when you go. Yeah, I think it was a good time. A lot of people very quickly changed into civvies. They were done after 5 weeks of being in military clothing the whole time. So they did that. I went out with family, and I actually paid a photographer, and we went out to a local park and sort of did photos with the family and in uniform. But that's what I did. But that is then the end of ODS, and you will then move on to whatever you need to do. Most people left that day and hopped a plane or a car and drove off. But yeah, that's fairly well it for week 5. Weeks 4 and 5 are supposed to be a lot more fun. For us, our class, we tended, for whatever reason, we got yelled at more. We upset the class team, and they sandpitted us. They told us to get out of their ways. They told us that we suck in our souls. And you take it for what it's worth, I suppose. I'll admit I haven't stayed up crying about it, but I think the thought is ODS is 5 weeks. It does get to be stressful, and by the end of it, most of us were all ready to go. I made some great relationships, especially with those that are in your wing. You have the 6 different wings. Get to know those people. They will be your sources of support and laughter. Actually, I think on the Thursday prior, I think it was the Thursday evening, or maybe it was the Wednesday evening of that week, we actually sat out in the hallway and we just played trivia. I have some trivia on my computer, and we played Disney trivia. So I ran it, they got into teams, and we just had fun for an hour answering Disney trivia questions. But make connections with the people, get to know your hatchmate, make good connections with the people on your floor. I've said it over and over again, have a positive attitude. Do your best. It's going to be stressful. It's going to suck at times. It does end. 5 weeks is not forever, though when you're in the middle of it, you may feel like it is. And also realize it's not enough time to turn you into a perfect officer. I certainly got tired and snippy at points, and there were points where I wasn't giving it 100%. Not to say I was ever at 0, but it's not enough time. You're not going to be a perfect officer when you leave. You're not going to know everything when you leave. You're still going to make mistakes, and that is okay. I can certainly say the class team had reason to be upset with us at points. I don't necessarily agree with the way that they went about expressing those frustrations, but no, we're not perfect. But as long as you have that motivation and that attitude that you will continue improving, you want to be the best officer that you can be, and you want to mold and shape the best Navy that is possible, then I think you have garnered what you can from ODS, and that you will be in a good position for success moving off into your future. And use those resources, use those networks, email your class team, email the friends and the contacts that you have made while you're there. I still have a class chat on my phone where people are still messaging. I still have a Wing 4 message where we're just kind of having fun back and forth, and I'm sure that'll taper down over time. But I'll admit I'm glad to be done, but at the same point, I'm going to miss the people and the connections. And I did learn a lot while I was there. I finally am not so nervous about what do I do when I go through the gate and the guard salutes me, or how do I make sure that my khakis are on correctly, or that I boss my boots right, or there's 100 things. I don't know it all, but at least I know more than when I was in there. So, for those of you who are watching this in preparation, watch these videos, read what you can, look up what you can, but at the same point, ODS will be your own experience. Nothing can prepare you for it 100%, but as long as you go in with a good attitude and a willingness to learn, then I think you'll be successful. Thank you for watching the videos that I've made. If you have any questions, then feel free to put them down in the comments below. I'll do my best to reply to them. I may not get to them in a day or two. I do have a full-time job. I have the reserves and then 100 other things going on, but I'll certainly do my best, and maybe I'll even make some videos for Seacoast now that I'm here. Maybe I'll continue on with this. So best of luck. Bye-bye.